Well, that was one of the most fun games of the year. I think with the Browns, the type of game that I long for is one of those Ohio State Buckeye blowout games where we win comfortably. And that's what the Browns had. Not exactly a blowout of a MAC team, but the Browns with a comfortable win. Amari Cooper, 265 yards, erasing Josh Gordon from the record books. But we've got a Thursday night football game. No Aaron Rodgers, likely Trevor Siemian. Drew, Eric, you guys will both be there. But Drew, let's start off with you here. What are your expectations for Thursday night?
I expect it to be pretty low scoring. The Jets have a very good defense. They have the second best pass defense in the league behind the number one ranked Cleveland Browns. They've only allowed 16 passing touchdowns. That's also second best in the league behind Ryan's Baltimore Ravens. And they're just outside the top 10 in terms of total sacks. So this is an excellent pass defense. The rush defense, they leave a little bit to be desired. They're bottom 10 if you just look at the total yardage numbers. But the reason they're there is because they've been just crushed in terms of most of their games, and teams have ran the ball a lot on them. If you look a little closer, dig a little deeper, you'll see that they only give up about 4 yards per carry. That is exactly the same amount as the Browns give up. So, in terms of what I'm looking for, it's going to come down to which team stops the run best. And I don't know who that's going to be. I think whoever can do that, that's who wins the game.
A little scary. Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, both a bit banged up, both showing up on the injury report this week. Eric, what do you think about Joe Flacco coming back here? Man, Flacco talk of the league with his performances.
Yeah, it took a couple outings, but I guess the national media's kind of giving him his praise. I like flying under the radar personally, but I mean, I guess when you have what is that, 3 consecutive games of over 300 yards passing, you have your leading receiver with the most in franchise history in one game, you're going to tend to turn some heads. So yeah, I mean, he's been outstanding. That 4th and 8 play, you saw that throw on the sideline to move the chains. It's not going to show up in the stat sheet, for scores or anything, but that was an incredible play. So if he makes those type of plays, I really feel confident going forward, at least in this year. But yeah, I mean, I really like what the passing attack's doing. How could you not? But I'd like to see them try to get the running game going. I know they're going up against a good running attack, but if we want to have any success in this playoffs, assuming we make it, because we're not in yet, but assuming we have success, or we want to have success in the playoffs, we got to learn how to run the ball. We got to learn how to manufacture yards. We got to go 4, 5, 6 chunk yards at a time. I don't think that's asking too much. I know we've had a lot of guys in and out of the backfield. We've had a lot of guys in and out for the offensive linemen. But they've got to find ways to not have Joe Flacco, throw the ball 50 times. He's been doing it well, but he's going to run into a great passing defense that he didn't see last week in Houston. If it even means getting an early lead, getting a 14-0 lead by passing and then running it several plays consecutively, milking that clock, kind of like how they did with a 9-minute drive. Obviously, they had to go for it a lot of times in 4th down, so it's kind of a unique situation. But if they can do a sustainable drive like that, mostly due to the running attack, I'll feel a lot more comfortable. So yeah, I mean, it's, Flacco's the leader. Flacco's the guy that's going to make this engine go. But I'd like to see other opportunities if he's not on his A game and he's unfortunately making mistakes. But hopefully we don't get in that situation. But that's what we got to do.
You mentioned playoffs, win and they're in. It's going to be competitive down to the end, I'm sure here. But a little frustrating that the Browns have a record that's surpassing some of the other division leaders. But Drew, it seems like that placement within the wildcard slots are going to make a big deal here as we start to forecast into what those seedings will be.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can hold on to that 5 seed, that means they get the AFC South, which they have proven to be very effective against, whether that's Tennessee, Baltimore, or Jacksonville. They've proven they can play with all three of those teams. They've beaten all three of those teams, granted. The Texans didn't have their quarterback and had a boatload of injuries, but regardless, they've proven they can hang with all of the teams there. If it starts to look elsewhere, if Buffalo, for example, wins out and the Browns do not, they at least lose one more game, then you start looking into some of the other seeds that are out there. People like Miami, Buffalo on the AFC East. You might run into the Chiefs, who have their own issues. They're certainly gettable this year, but they still have a very strong defense. They still have Patrick Mahomes. So I'd sure like to be able to keep that 5 seed. And, the hope's not gone yet. The Ravens haven't locked it up yet. And the only reason they haven't is because of how good the Browns have been.
Yeah, Browns, one of the few teams who have actually defeated the Ravens. Drew thinking of the Baltimore Colts. Slight change recently, but Eric, I'll give you the last word here. Who's going to be the big takeaway playmaker in this game? I think Joe Flacco. Well, Amari Cooper was probably the most for this last game. You break a record, you're going to be the one who everyone's talking about. On Friday, when we're talking about the Browns, who's going to be that one player?
I'm not really seeing a whole lot on offense. I'm seeing a lot of guys getting involved. I see David Njoku having a good game. I've seen Elijah Moore maybe have that New York revenge factor, I guess, if you want to call it. I see the ball being spread out pretty sufficiently on offense. On defense, I want to pick one guy. I just don't know which one. Denzel's kind of been limited, and rightly so, still coming off that shoulder. MJ Emerson, he's probably the leading candidate. He's been playing well outside of a couple flags. And Greg Newsome's, still playing well. Obviously not getting the interceptions that MJ is. If I had to say somebody, I'm going to go with MJ Emerson. I'm going to call it. I'd like to see a defensive touchdown out of Emerson on tomorrow night.
Grand slam, Myles Garrett, sack, fumble, recovery, touchdown, all in one play. Myles Garrett, grand slam.
You beat me to the punch there, Drew. I was going to say Myles Garrett. He has some lasting memories on Thursday night. Hopefully he sows some new ones as the Browns clinch a playoff appearance here. Let's go Browns.
Go Browns.
The Browns.